Hey, welcome back to another training video with Conversational Cam Pro. Today we're going to be focusing on the basics of a specific toolpath known as indexing side reads. And just like the other basic videos, we're going to answer two questions. What does this toolpath do? How does the cutter approach the material? And what designs does it give us? We're going to be able to see that take place. The second question is, how do we program it? How do we control it? So we're going to help visualize this in two ways. We're going to use the Vectric Aspire software to create a 2D visualization and to help give us some dimensions for this part. And then we're going to be showing the cutting results at the end of this video, explaining how the cutting advantages are taking place that are automatically built into the software. So let's jump on over here to Aspire. Now, Aspire is, in our opinion, one of the best softwares to get started with because it is probably the best value for the price, and it has a very easy learning curve. So we're going to have we have separate training tutorials on showing how to use the Aspire software and how to design and program in it. But here we're just going to use the 2D visualization to help lay out what this toolpath is going to do. So just like the other spindles, we have a square section on both ends and we have a round section in the center here that's already been turned around on our machine. That's been done with the first two cutters. The surfacing cutter is what turned the stock round from square to round here in the center, and the 2-inch classic spiral cutter is what turns these profiles on either end of that turned round cylinder. Okay, so that's already been programmed, that's already been cut, and if you're not familiar with how to do the turning round and tool profile techniques, I highly recommend you go check out those videos. In this video, again, we're going to be focusing on a very specific technique known as indexing side reads. Now, we're going to use a very specific tool to do this. Now, these cutters, for example, this type of tool was specifically designed from the cutter manufacturer Magnate. And so if you're looking for custom cutter profiles to get you the most versatile aspects for CNC, there's no better choice than Magnate. So definitely go check them out at magnate.net. Now, this cutter is known as a side reading cutter. So we're not going to plunge because like these other cutters where they have carbide going across the bottom. This cutter has carbide going across the edges. Okay, so on the side faces is what we're going to be using for this technique. So this is a side cutting technique versus cutting from the top using the bottom of the cutter to give us the detail. So this tool is going to start at a location and it's going to plunge until it puts and this is along the edge of the spindle, okay? So it's not on the top center of the spindle like all the other toolpaths. This is on the edge of the spindle, and it's gonna line up the center of this profile radius, okay, that round over profile, till it puts the tip of the cutter right in the center of this spindle, again, from the side. And then it's gonna travel all the way down till it gets to again, ending position, and then lift up, and it's done with one read. You would actually repeat that process, evenly spacing the reads around the circumference, and that looks like this, okay? So this is the reads that are evenly spaced around the circumference of a 2.5-inch diameter section that we've already turned round. And again, that's just going to line up right there, like so, making its cut along the edge. This is a cross-section view for those reads. So after it cuts down the length, it's going to move out of the way of the material so that the material can index to the next reeded position, and then repeat that process, cutting down the length, applying these reads one at a time, all the way around the circumference of our part. Okay, and again, this is the information from Magnate 7692 with this cutter information and definition and size. So this is a 1/4-inch radius for this roundover. It's going to give us some nice looking reads going down the length of this spindle. So let's go through the programming process of how this is going to take place using Conversational Cam Pro, CCam Pro. We're going to go to our project that we've been using, the training sample project. And here we're going to go to the turning workstation and go to our part that we've already created, the turning round sample part. And we already have toolpaths that have been created, the turning round and the tool profile that we mentioned earlier. Let's go manage our toolpaths, and we're going to add another toolpath to this list, and that is the indexing side reads. And so we'll add that to the list. It's right where we need it to be. And now let's actually go program this. So if we click on side reads here, we can fill out this questionnaire. So the first thing we need to do is select our tool. So we'll come in here and we're going to go to our side reading tools here in Cam Pro. And we have our 1/4 inch radius. That's the one that we had selected. Again, matches the tool manufacturer number 7692 that we had on the drawing board. And so let's select that tool. If we go back to our drawing and we look at the cutter here, this has a really long shank, okay? That's so that this cutter can reach the edge of larger diameter spindles, right? So if this circle here was a really big circle, let's say it was 7 inches in diameter, right? That's really big. This tool would still need to be able to reach to the center of that based on the length, right? That's why it has an extra long shank to this, so it can still be used for different diameters. Because of that, though, because of how long this cutter is, in auto tool change machines specifically, certain layouts may not be able to actually fit this cutter in your tool rack, okay, just because of how long it is. If that's the case, then you're going to be assigning this cutter to a manual tool change number. If you have a manual tool change machine, it doesn't matter what tool number you assign it to because you don't have to worry about it being in a tool rack for auto tool change. And so in this scenario, we're going to assign the tool number here in Cam Pro. Instead of being tool number 3 like the others, where the first 2 cutters are the surfacing and classic spiral, and then this would normally be tool 3, I'm actually going to assign this to the tool numbers that represent a manual tool change in the Delta controllers right now. And that will be tool 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I'm just going to choose the first one as a manual tool change, tool 8. Okay, and so when it actually asks us to put the tool in, it will do so as a manual tool change instead of automatically picking up the cutters if you have that capability with your machine. So just a precaution, make sure you're assigning this specific cutter because of how long it is to the right tool number. Now we just need to give it some start and end positions where we want the cutter to start and end along the length of our spindle. So back to our drawing board. So this cutter here, again, it's kind of difficult to see if we're trying to determine a start and ending position. What I like to do is I like to draw a swing diameter of the tool. So I'm going to show you what this represents here. Okay, so this outer edge of this carbide here, these flat carbide faces here, that is 3/4 of an inch in diameter. That's going to be swinging a 3/4 inch diameter, circle. So that represents the swing diameter of these carbide edges. The tip of the carbide is swinging out here, okay, with that 1/4 inch radius. So these circles represent the swing diameters of both edges of the carbide, the inner edge of the flat surface of the carbide and the outer point of the tip. That's going to give us the details, right? And so if we're looking at this now as a perspective from a top view, where the cutter is going to be rotating, we can visualize where we want the cuts to start and end. Now, what the software is going to do in Cam Pro automatically is it's actually going to take and it's going to apply the inner radius of the carbide up against the section diameter that we're going to be stating. And we're going to answer that here in just a moment. So it's going to apply all of that cut as the cutter is swinging through the material on the edge of the part. Okay? And again, that's just going to travel all the way down the length until it gets to an ending point. Now, if we look here, if I simply make the start position the same as this profile cut, okay, that we did earlier, so that both the center of the cutters are lined up at the same location on my x-axis, you can see that I have clearance to where the cutter isn't going to be hitting anything when it comes into the material at first. It will actually only start making contact with the material when it starts traveling down the part, instead of making contact with the material when it's actually approaching the material from the side. Okay, but this makes the programming really easy because we can have the start and ending position be the exact same as these cutter profiles, which is why I drew them here at those locations. So let's go measure that. Grab some dimensions here. We'll do a horizontal dimension from the edge, the left edge of our part, which represents X0, to the center of our tool here. That will be a starting position of 5, and from X0 to the center of this tool, which represents our ending position, with a parameter of 13. So let's go put that in there. Start and end of 5 and 13 along that diameter section. So 5 for our starting position, 13 for the 13 for the ending position. We're going to be keeping the rest of these parameters defaulted. For example, it's automatically going to calculate the number of starts or number of reads that are going to be spaced out around the circumference. We're going to let it do its thing. But the last parameter we need to fill out is what is the section diameter these reads are being applied to. And we did mention that earlier, that is that turned round section. So if we do a vertical dimension here of the turned round section, this is the section diameter that these reads are being applied to, 2.5 inches in this scenario. So if we come over here and put 2.5 in our section diameter, in other videos we will show how to customize these parameters to give us different results. But for now we are actually done and we can push finish and save. So now let's go generate our G-code, and we don't need to do so for the first two toolpaths because those have already been done on the machine. So now let's generate our G-code for the side reads, applying all of those cuts around the circumference of our part, and we can now save our G-code. So let's put this in our toolpath demonstration files under indexing side reads, and this is going to be the indexing side reading G-code, and we'll save that. And now let's go to the machine and see this take place. To begin, the cutter approaches the part off of the edge and plunges so that the center of that profile cut is lined up directly with the middle of the blank. The cutter takes 2 passes per read, performing a roughing and finish pass to ensure that we get a good quality finish. Cam Pro automatically calculated how many reads are to be evenly spaced out around the diameter of this part. Here we have 15 reads in total. The team at Legacy would like to give a big thank you to the Vectric Aspire software that gives us the ability to visualize and lay out these simple toolpaths for Cam Pro. There has been no better software to tag team with our turning software than the Vectric program. We also would like to thank our cutter supplier, Magnate. Again, if you haven't seen the variety of cutters that are used for CNC, I recommend you go to their website at magnate.net. All the calculations and cutting advantages shown here are included in Cam Pro. You should now have a basic understanding of this indexing side reading toolpath. I recommend that you give it a try yourself. Now, these types of videos generate a lot of different questions. I recommend you take advantage of 2 resources to answer your questions. First is head on over to our website at legacywoodworking.com. There you'll find all the different product information, additional cutting demonstrations, and much more. The second resource I recommend doing is actually getting in contact with one of our CNC experts. You can call them at 801-491-0010. They will be happy to answer any of your questions, put on software or cutting demonstrations with the machines, and point you to additional resources, again, to fulfill your needs. Now, if you'd like to just simply watch more videos, I don't blame you. Just click right over there. I think we all know what to do. If you want to be notified of future videos, just click that button down below, and don't hesitate to give us a like if you liked what you saw. As always, thanks for watching, and remember, Legacy solves more woodworking problems and allows you to say yes to more opportunities than any other CNC manufacturer in the industry.